Welcome to Secret Story, Ryan. Did you clean your room as I asked? Peg will be here soon. I don't want her to think we live like pigs, even though your room could pass for a sty. I'm just finishing. You can give it the white glove test in a few minutes. The truth was that I was gathering the last of a week-old smelly and stuffing it in the hamper. I had what I assumed to be the typical cleanliness standards of a 17-year-old. That is, not very as clean. My room usually looked like a hurricane's aftermath and smelled like last year's Limburger, but for the sake of peace, I put away my clothing, cased my guitar, stashed my music, and actually dusted. My Aunt Peg visiting was a big deal. Peg was my mom's younger sister, and we hadn't seen her in ages. She was recently divorced from her asshole husband, a former Major League Baseball player who loved to play the field but not necessarily the one with home plate and dugouts. Peg caught him in bed with the team owner's trophy wife, and it was shortly after that both his career and his marriage ended. He was on the way out anyway, but in the process, they had lived the high life, only in another city far away from us. Since she had last visited, much had happened. Dad had been diagnosed with cancer that spread rapidly, and he subsequently died. Peg and her husband were vacationing thousands of miles away at the time, and she had not received the news of Dad's death until after the funeral. Soon after that, Peg had found her husband cheating on her, and she remained preoccupied with that whole mess for some time. Her visit to our house was long overdue that I was anxious to see her. Peg was fun to be around. Best of all, she was fun to look at. At 33, Peg was a knockout. She and her ex had no children, and Mom said she had made out well in the divorce settlement. She was considering moving near our small southern town, a quaint old village blessed with beautiful Appalachian vistas and great weather most of the year. She would be combining a family gathering and a real estate search. The prospect of her living near us excited me. Our house was an older two-story on the edge of town in an area that was a step back in time. All the box stores and crowded subdivisions that plagued similar areas of the state had been kept at bay with strict zoning laws. It felt like we were living in Mayberry, a feeling that chafed most of the teens I knew. They typically desired shopping malls and bustling streets. I was an exception. I loved the sleepy, laid-back lifestyle filled with shadows of the past. Our house was a product of an era when craftsmanship mattered. Mom insisted on careful maintenance of the oak floors, the decorative trim and woodworking details, and the manicured yard and garden. My room was a notable exemption. Peg would be staying in the guest bedroom next to mine on the second floor, where overnight visitors usually stayed. I shared with any guests a large remodeled bathroom across the hall, and I had to clean up that area once a year or so. Peg was like Mom, neat to a fault at least in my eyes. But I figured a mandatory cleaning wouldn't kill me. It would be nice for a change to be surrounded by the sweet-smelling ointments of a woman instead of the stale odors of a teenage slob. In the intervening years since her last visit, I had changed. After a growth spurt in my early teens, I was now over 6 feet tall. Weightlifting and football had honed me to a toned 170 pounds, and my obsession with crunches gave me the six-pack abs right out of a fitness magazine. I was ripped and proud of it. Still, I tended to be shy around the opposite. But that was about to change. She's here. Comb your hair and come greet your aunt. For some reason, I expected to see Peg drive up in a Corvette convertible or something similar. When the white Toyota Prius parked in front of the garage, it was slightly disappointing. However, that disappeared when Peg stepped out. Her beautiful blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail through the rim of her baseball cap, making her look younger than her age. Notably, the Major League team represented on the logo was not her ex's but a rival team. She embraced Mom and then looked over at me. "And who is this young stud? That can't be Ryan. The last time I saw you, you were a foot shorter. Come here and hug your aunt." My smile said it all. "My goodness, Ryan. You're all grown up." She kissed me on the cheek. "Would you mind getting my bags, hon? They're in the trunk." Take her things up to the guest room, Ryan. Come on in, Peg. Let's have some tea and catch up. After putting Peg's things in the room next to mine, I joined the two sisters on the patio and listened as they excitedly caught each other up on their respective lives. Joy and laughter mingled with abundant tears as they remembered Dad's death and Peg's divorce. I excused myself to let them have their time together and headed upstairs. Once in my room, I closed the door quietly and reached under my mattress for a tattered copy of an old penthouse featuring large women of the Midwest, that I had found in a garbage can. I opened it to the familiar pages where a couple supposedly from Nebraska. The face of Aunt Peg replaced the one on the pages in front of me. Ryan, can I come in? Aunt Peg's voice nearly caused a heart attack. Just a sec, Aunt Peg. I dropped the magazine and kicked it under the bed. After several seconds, I mumbled, come on in. Sorry. You surprised me. Peg entered with a mystified look on her face when she saw me. I was, no doubt, 15 shades of red from a combination, guilt, and embarrassment. Then I realized I still had a wadded paper towel in my hand filled. Peg smiled as if she guessed what was going on. Sorry, Ryan. I hope I'm not interrupting anything. We didn't mean to run you off downstairs with our girl talk. But your mom and I have some serious catching up to do. She looked around the room and changed the subject. So this is your pad, huh? You play the guitar now, I see. Maybe you can play something for me later, Anyway, I wanted to thank you for bringing all my stuff upstairs. I know, too many clothes. But I'm not sure how long I'll be staying in case I decide to move here. I love this area. Anyway, I'll get out of your hair. Thanks. And, better get rid of that thing in your hand. It looks nasty. Do you have a cold or something? I looked at the soggy wad of paper in my hand. Oh, this. Yeah, I think I'm getting one. But I doubt I'm infectious. I threw the wad at my trash can and missed. Peg stepped toward it to put it in the can, but I beat her to it. Just in case. I wouldn't want you to catch whatever I have from this snot rag. And, no problem. Great to see you, Peg. Hope you stay as long as you want. Don't hesitate to ask if you need anything. Peg smiled and then stepped to me and hugged me. She kissed me on the forehead. Thanks, sweetie. I'll keep that in mind. Talk to you later. I'm going to unpack. I noticed her eyes fell to the floor where half of the penthouse lay open and exposed. She smiled as she turned and walked out of the room. Should I close the door, Ryan? Yeah, I guess. I'm gonna change clothes and put on some trunks. Maybe we can take a swim later. My embarrassment notwithstanding, I survived the humiliation of nearly getting caught by my aunt with my tool in hand. Dressed in my trunks, I sat by the pool with headphones on, only to be joined later by both Mom and Peg. Mom had a decent figure still, but nothing compared to her younger sis. I never really noticed it until she was standing next to her sister. They were before and after versions of the same woman. Peg worked out. Her tan torso contained no excess fat. You're going to drive my son wild in that swimsuit, Peg. That's okay, sis. He's my nephew, so no big deal. And he's a cutie as well. If he weren't my nephew, I'd be all him. Hush. He'll overhear you and get ideas even though you are kidding. Ryan is shy around girls. Maybe you can give him some pointers. And I did overhear them. I pretended I was listening to music, but my headphones were turned off. I smiled and nodded my head to a non-existent rhythm, but my smile was due to the image in my head of me, my aunt in a late-night romp in her bedroom. I secretly hoped that Peg would have noticed. As they approached, I looked up and was happy to. Mind if we join you? What are you listening to? I acted as if I couldn't hear and removed my headphones. But I answered both questions anyway. In the process, I could not avoid staring at Peg's. My response was predictable and Peg smiled knowingly. She leaned over to remove a sandal. Sure, sit down. AC/DC. Oldie moldy stuff. I like that stuff, too. That's more my generation than yours. Maybe you can share some of your music with me later. I'd like to hear what you have. Whether or not Peg was sincere, she was showing an interest in me, which thrilled me in more ways than one. The rest of the afternoon was uneventful. Peg and I took brief swims and I prayed her top would come undone. As the saying goes, only in my dreams. Later that afternoon we were all overexposed to the sun and tired as a result. I decided to shower and rest up before dinner. Both Peg and Mom had similar ideas, and we all gave up about the same time. Peg had already moved into the guest bathroom. And various ointments and beauty products now adorned it in a messy array. I grabbed some clean and headed for the shower. The cascading water felt great on my skin and after lathering up. When the bathroom door suddenly opened, I looked over to see my aunt standing in the doorway with a shocked look on her face. Oh my God, Ryan. Sorry. I didn't realize you were in here. I should have knocked first, sweetie. I didn't see anything. I'll just grab my get out. The shower doors were clear glass, not the bumpy type that distorted images. Jesus, this was 2 for 2. Could it possibly be more embarrassing? But then I wondered, what if she's doing this on purpose? Couldn't she hear the water running? I retired to my room after drying off. And eventually, I heard Peg get in the shower. I briefly harbored the idea of barging in on her as retaliation, but I don't think it would have played out well. The source of most of my inspiration as of late that we had a nice dinner, and after some TV, I announced I was heading for my room. Mom and Peg stayed up to continue catching up, but eventually, I heard Peg in the hallway and go into her room next to mine. After a while, I heard a faint knock on my door. Ryan, are you awake? Yes, no problem. Come on in. I was dressed in pajama bottoms but without a top of any kind. The door opened and Peg entered on tiptoes as if she were concerned about waking others. No worries, Peg. I don't go to sleep until late. I never sleep very well. And Mom can't hear anything up here. No need to tiptoe. I just wanted to apologize for barging in on you today, twice. I feel so stupid. I should respect your privacy, and I'm off to a bad start. I may be here for a while, and you need your space. No worries, Peg. You're my aunt, so we're family. You surprised me, and I hope I didn't shock you when I was in the shower. I hope you don't think I'm a perv or something. Oh, honey. No. Whatever you were doing is perfectly natural. Even old ladies do those things. And maybe I did see more than I should have, but, honey, you have nothing to be ashamed of. I completely understand about teenage boys and their needs. But maybe I'd better quit before I sound really dumb. Well, thanks for stopping by. I'm glad you are here, Peg. I've been looking forward to this for some time. You are hot for an aunt. But you are, hot, I mean. I knew I was only digging deeper, but my brain was scrambled by her presence that I tried to look Peg in the eyes, but her nightie was driving me to distraction. And then, as if my dreams were about to be answered, Peg sat next to me on the bed and hugged me. That's so sweet of you, honey. I want to get to know you better. I've missed watching you grow up, and you've certainly done that. You've become quite a man, Ryan. I wish. I'm pretty shy around girls. I've dated some but not with anyone as hot as you. Just school dances and movie dates, mostly with a group of friends. I could use some pointers. I'm kind of a klutz around girls. Don't sell yourself short, Ryan. I'd be happy to give you some pointers. The trick is to be yourself but always, and I mean always, be respectful to women. There's nothing worse than a guy who treats women like dirt. But I know you're not like that. Anyway, I'd better get to bed. Sweet dreams, sweetie. And with that, Peg kissed me. But it was on the lips. Later, I was lying there thinking about what had happened. I knew what I wanted to believe. What if she did it on purpose? My mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and fantasies, half dreaming with occasional moments of back-to-earth clarity. Then I realized I was listening to a sound like some kind of white noise. A gentle humming permeated the paper-thin walls of our old house, and I lay there trying to figure out what could be the source. Finally, I grabbed my empty water glass, and kneeling on the bed, I placed the glass against the wall with my ear to the other end. The sound was coming from Peg's room, but what was it? Then it dawned on me. It's a vibrator. That had to be it. That I continued listening for several minutes. The sound continued with periodic, followed by moments of only the humming. I wanted to be watching the scene in the next room and not simply listening to it. I even thought briefly about creeping to her door. Then, suddenly, a muffled scream, followed by complete silence. That was it. But I dropped the glass to the nightstand with a clatter. Thankfully, it didn't break, but I sensed sudden movement on the other side of the wall and prayed that Peg didn't figure out I was listening to her. Soon her bedroom was silent again, and I crept to the bathroom where I deposited my tissues in the toilet and flushed them. I stared at her closed door for a minute from the hallway, but then returned to my room and lay there again for several minutes before finally falling asleep. I imagined Peg coming into my room. "Ryan, let me show you what a woman likes, honey." If only. When I arose in the morning, Mom and Peg were working on their second cup of coffee. "Morning, sunshine. Did you sleep well?" Mom was always chirpy in the morning, something that required getting used to since I was more of a night owl. "All right, I guess. Especially after I listened to Aunt Peg's. You know me, I'm a light sleeper." I ended up reading for quite a while. Penthouse illustrations count as reading, don't they? Peg only smiled, but I sensed there was more to that smile than met the eye. The rest of the day continued uneventfully. I did some chores for Mom and ran a few errands. Mom and Peg decided to check out some real estate offices and shop together. I politely declined when asked if I wanted to join them. "I'll just hang here and play my guitar. I've got my cell. If you need anything, just call." And later that afternoon, my phone's ringtone alerted me to a call from a strange number. "Ryan, this is Peg. Would you do me a favor, sweetie? Would you look in my room and see if I left my checkbook on the dresser? Just text me if you see it. I don't need to have it, but I thought it was in my purse, and I can't find it. I was putting things away and might have set it there." "No problem. I'll look for it and let you know." I left my room and opened Peg's door. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Perfumed accents shouted that this was a lady's room. She had neatly made the bed, and the room was tidy. I glanced around before inspecting the dresser covered with small jars of lotions, a perfume bottle, and an open box with earrings and other jewelry. Put them to my nose, and inhaled the sweet fragrance of Aunt Peg. The gusset had a circular stain of a slightly different color. Then I saw what was lying beneath them. At first, I thought it was a microphone. On the chair lay a black tapered plastic shaft with a bulbous end made of some kind of foam. It had a switch on the side, and when I turned it on, it began vibrating. I almost dropped it in surprise. It was Peg's. I grabbed the and sat on the end of the bed. It didn't take long. "I need to clean these before Peg returns," I said to no one. Then I saw the checkbook. Jesus, did she do this on purpose? My brain spun at the possibilities. This couldn't have been an accident, could it? I quickly put the room back in order except for the pants. I ran into the bath, rinsed them off as best I could in warm water, and patted them in a towel. Then I remembered Peg wanted me to text her. Found the checkbook, Peg. Right where you said it would be. No problem. I hit send and almost immediately received an emoji in return for a smiling face with hearts for eyes. I placed the checkbook on the dresser. I hoped they would be dry by the time Peg returned. I returned to my room and listlessly strummed my guitar, all the while thinking about possibilities. Later, I heard the women return and put away groceries and things. When I joined them, they were drinking a glass of wine and chatting on the patio. "Oh, hi, Ryan. Thanks again for finding my checkbook. Happy to help." I swore that Peg winked at me, but again, I was hoping for any sign that she had set me up on purpose. The two sisters sat outside in the warm summer air until the sun disappeared behind the mountains, and the patio lights automatically came on. By then they had finished the bottle of Chardonnay and had opened a Cabernet for dinner. I could tell Mom was getting tipsy and assumed that Peg was also, that we all pitched in with dinner preparations, and as I chopped and stirred a few things. Both Peg and Mom gave me frequent hugs and smooches. "I can't believe how much you've grown up, Ryan. And so handsome. Maybe you'll play some songs for me tonight. I'd love to hear you play. Do you sing, too?" "Not really. I'm not that good. I'm getting better, though." Once again, Peg and Mom reminded me not to sell myself short. But soon, we were finishing dinner and cleaning the kitchen. "You gals enjoy yourselves. I'll clean up." We watched TV after finding a chick flick on HBO. "Don't look, Ryan. Make men crazy. I should know, you ladies better slow down on the wine. I think it's making you silly. I guess we've had our share. Drinking tends to make me not silly. I'd better go to bed. I'm probably going to feel this tomorrow. But tomorrow's another day, as they say. Good night." Peg stood and kissed Mom on the forehead, and then on the lips. "Your aunt is a good. I imagine you didn't know that, Ryan. That's how she was able to hook a big stud baseball player." "Big shit baseball player, you mean?" "On that note, I'm going to bed." Peg turned to me and kissed me on the forehead. "Good night, sweetie. I hope you can sleep well tonight." I watched a few more minutes of the movie, and then both Mom and I decided we'd had enough and headed for bed. I heard Peg in the bathroom, and when I thought she was finished, I went in there to brush my teeth. She was still there applying lotion. "Sorry, Ryan. I'll be out in just a sec." "Or is this an emergency?" "No hurry, Peg. Just need to brush my teeth and pee. Thanks again for finding my checkbook today, honey. By the way, I hope I don't embarrass you with all my hugging and kissing. I haven't seen you in so long. You've become not only a wonderful man but also handsome. I can't believe girls aren't beating a path to your door." I was turning red at this kind of talk, I'm sure. Without thinking, I pushed the boundaries to test the waters with Peg. "Oh, honey. That is just a feeling you get when you are with someone. It's a bit simple and complicated at the same time. I'll tell you what, let me finish here, and you do your thing. Then, come into my room, and we'll talk about this if you are up for it. If it's too late, we can do it some other time." "No, that sounds fine. Take your time." So I returned to my room and waited until I heard Peg enter her room. I returned to the bathroom and brushed my teeth well beyond the ordinary brushing. I peed and checked out my unit, not that I was going to be doing anything with it, but just in case. My pajama bottoms were clean. I knocked on Peg's door and waited for her response. "Come on in, Ryan." Peg was sitting up in bed with the covers only on her legs. A large table lamp lit the room and accented her, but I made every effort to look at her face. And then, I noticed that she was wearing lipstick. "Honey, your mom tells me you are shy around girls, and I just want to reassure you that you have nothing to worry about. You are growing up to be not only handsome but also a gentleman. Women love that in men. I know I certainly do. But first, can I ask you a couple of personal questions? I promise, this little meeting is just between the two of us. I won't even talk to your mother about this. Is that okay?" "Sure. I mean, yeah, you can ask me anything. We're family. I trust you, Aunt Peg. Well, I'm sure you've kissed girls before, Ryan. But let's not assume anything. Don't be offended, but do you like girls? I wouldn't be offended if you preferred boys. I'm open-minded about these things. I almost swallowed my tongue. I'm not gay if that's what you mean. I'm just shy. I guess the fear of rejection is part of it. I don't want to like someone and then get dumped. And, yes, I've kissed lots of girls. But mostly only when they kiss me first. When should I take charge without offending someone? First of all, relationships are complicated. You are young, Ryan, and you'll probably have several girlfriends before you are eventually married. My advice is don't get too serious until you are ready to settle down. But let's start with the basics. You asked about kissing. Kissing can be the most exciting thing in the world if done right. No one taught me to kiss, but practice makes perfect. Believe it or not, your mother and I used to practice kissing when I was 16 and she was 19. Like you, I lacked confidence. Peg removed the covers from her legs and slid over next to me so that we were partly facing one another. Not exactly. To be honest, no. I'm ashamed to say it, Ryan, I wouldn't believe everything your friends brag about. I know how that works. The first time needs to be something special, not rushed or filled with guilt. And it needs to be consensual. It will happen to you soon enough. My face softened. Peg's words were comforting and reassuring. Suddenly, a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. Thank you for saying that, Peg. I leaned into her. Her breath smelled like Crest toothpaste. We both paused for several seconds, and then I felt a hand around my neck, and she pulled me closer. Wow. There's nothing wrong with the way you kiss, Ryan. That was wonderful, honey. Oh, thank you, Peg. I've never kissed anyone like that. And I've never felt anything like that, ever. Oh, Peg. That feels incredible. I didn't know what to say. You deserve this, honey. Just relax and let me make you feel good. Okay, and with that, Peg bent over. I nearly fainted. I'm going to do something that I think you'll like, Ryan. Remember, this is between us. No one ever hears about this. Do you understand? Oh my God, Peg. Absolutely. I promise. I would have put my firstborn son up for collateral for her to continue. Peg shook her hair free and smiled at me. So, as good as you hoped. They're my best asset. What do you think? Thank you for letting me see them. I was at a loss for words, so I just said whatever came to mind. You're welcome. Now, let's finish what we started. And that was all it took. She reached over to the nightstand and grabbed some tissues. She handed me several and then took some for herself, and together, we cleaned up the mess. When we were satisfied that we had wiped up most of it, Peg got off the bed and grabbed my pajamas. I hope you can sleep well. Remember, this is our secret. But you were wonderful. Peg kissed me tenderly and sent me on my way back to my room. I lay there for the better part of an hour, reliving what I had just experienced. I was like a starving person breaking a diet. I wanted more, You're up bright and early, at least part of you is. But then I realized that never happened. However, there was no question Peg had given me a. How could anything top that? I lay there, slowly waking up before finally deciding to get up and try to act normal around my mom and her sister. Suddenly, everything had changed. Morning, sunshine. Sleep well. Mom poured me a cup of coffee and kissed me on the forehead. Like a rock. I looked over at my aunt. She had a Cheshire smile on her face. And when Mom turned to put the coffee pot back in the holder, Peg winked and blew me a kiss. Mom turned around and saw me smiling. Peg's hand returned to her coffee cup. What's so funny, Ryan? Nothing. Your sister is making faces at me. She's a riot. Yes, she is. She's always been the funny one. She's one for teasing. I said nothing but only nodded. We ate breakfast, and then Peg announced that she was going to look at some property that she had researched on the internet. Want to come along and keep your old aunt company, Ryan? You can show me your favorite haunts. I'll even buy you lunch. After checking with Mom first, I jumped at the chance. Mom says go for it, so yeah. Let's look at some houses. So, we were set. Armed with several addresses to check out, we piled into Peg's Prius and hit the road. That we were no sooner out of the driveway when Peg looked at me and smiled mischievously. Ryan, honey. I hope I didn't give you the wrong idea last night. I must have been a little drunk. That's not something I typically do with anyone, let alone my nephew. Please don't think ill of me. I guess I got carried away in the moment, but I'll be honest, I loved making you happy. Peg, that was the best moment of my life. I could never think badly of you. You were sweet and gentle, and yeah, maybe some people might take issue with what we did, but not me. I know you were just trying to help my self-confidence. And you did. That was a fantasy come true. I don't want you to have any regrets. I certainly don't. You made me feel great about myself in more ways than one. I'm glad you feel that way, Ryan. It was very special to me as well. Now let's enjoy the rest of the day together. Peg and I visited many properties, and she seemed to value my opinion about the pros and cons of each. We chatted and joked as we drove around and stopped for a casual lunch at an old-fashioned drive-in eatery. When we returned home, we were both worn out and giddy from joking about some of the less attractive places. That last one was well beyond a fixer-upper. I'd call it a tear-it-downer. Yeah, I agree. It was a dump. But the owner was a cutie. He just needed to remember his teeth next time. Sounds like you two had a good day. Your aunt is lots of fun, isn't she? Ryan is a stitch as well, sis. We're getting to know each other once again. It's been too long since I was around such a gentleman who is also so handsome. Of course, I was glowing. I thoroughly enjoyed hanging out with Peg, and I caught a few stares from friends who saw us at the drive-in. Peg drew stares wherever she went. The three of us relaxed for the rest of the day by the pool. Mom did eye us warily when we were horsing around in the pool, but other than knowing glances between us, we were careful not to raise suspicions. Peg had confided in me during our house hunting details about her divorce, including intimate details that shocked me. Brent liked rough, and he got weird about it at times. During the length of our marriage, he went from being sweet to rough and nasty. In retrospect, we were headed in the wrong direction for a long time. He became verbally and physically abusive. Catching him else was the final straw. I'm so happy to be rid of him that I listened attentively and offered words of sympathy which seemed to relax Peg. At one point, as we pulled into the driveway of a house to view, Peg leaned over and kissed me on the lips. You are so sweet, Ryan. Some girl is going to be lucky to find you. After dinner, we watched a little TV, but Mom was reading magazines, and Peg was looking over real estate notes. I listlessly watched several NCIS segments until it was getting late and decided to go to bed. Night all. See you in the morning. Night, sweetie. Hope you sleep well, Mom chimed in. We'll follow soon, I'm sure. I completed my nightly routine more carefully than normal. Hope springs eternal, and while I assumed Peg would not do a repeat performance of last night, I showered to make sure I was clean in all the right places. Once in bed, I soon heard Peg come upstairs and do her thing. Soon, the shower was running, and I heard the shower door click. I was certainly no John Holmes. What did she mean by nice? Minutes later, footsteps sounded in the guest bedroom. Later I got up to pee and saw that Peg's door was partially open and a light was on. I knocked lightly. Come on in, Ryan. I'm awake. I'm just reading. I stuck my head in the door and smiled. I just wanted to say good night, Peg. Thank you, Ryan. I'm awake, as you can see. Come on in. I've been thinking about some things. About you, actually. Come over here, sweetie. Peg was wearing a different nightie. Sit here for a few minutes and cuddle with me. I'm lonely tonight. I need a little companionship. I slid up on the bed and sat next to my aunt with pillows for support and my back against the headboard. You were so sweet today. I can't get enough of you, Ryan. Can I ask you a personal question, Peg? Something that has been bugging me for a while. Normally, I would talk to my dad about this stuff. I guess. But he's gone, and I'm too embarrassed to ask Mom. Of course. We're beyond trying to be polite around one another. Anything. What is it? Peg frowned at first and then smiled reassuringly. Ryan, trust me. He is big and strong, but not that way. I think it's trying to talk to us right now. Let's settle this once and for all, honey. I bet you've never, have you? I never, ever thought I'd be with my nephew, but here we are. I don't think your mother would approve. I was speechless. No doubt, the look on my face said volumes. I was praying for Peg to continue, no. I've never. Not even close. Okay then. You know the rules. If I do this, we don't ever talk about it with anyone. Right? Consider this part of your growing up education. I'd rather be the one to teach you some of these things than some inexperienced. I followed directions. Oh, what the hell. Since we're this far, we might as well both get comfortable. We're going to do this the right way, Ryan. I'm sure you've seen videos of this. Just do what comes naturally. I know you'll be good at this. Oh, my God, Ryan. You are a quick learner. You have no idea how good that feels. You are making me feel things I haven't felt in years. Don't stop. It was only a matter of time before the inevitable happened. Peg did not slow down either. We were both drained. Did you like that, Ryan? We were now lying in each other's arms. We both giggled. All this is nice, but I'd be proud to be the one who showed you the coup de grace. Would you like that? I couldn't believe my ears. I nodded yes vigorously. Yes, please, Aunt Peg. That will make the experience even better. However, make sure this is something you want. This is serious stuff, not that what we've been doing wasn't, but there is a reason why they call it going all the way. I understand. This is something I want. And you are the perfect person to show me. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it and anything else. I'll wash your car for life. Peg giggled. My car is fine dirty, Ryan. But look, you are already set to go. When I was finally drained, we lay there for some time without saying a word. Finally, Peg spoke. There's no hurry to leave, Ryan. This is nice that I did more than that. I finally crawled back to my room about 3 in the morning. Peg was snoring loudly as grabbed my pajamas, and tiptoed to my room. Copyright 2024 all rights reserved. No part of this story can be reproduced in any form or by any electronic or mechanical means without written permission from the author. All characters are fictitious, and any similarity to actual people, living or dead, events, or locales is entirely coincidental unless otherwise stated.